Took a long time to get here. Go ahead, punch it in.
Whoa.
Welcome to the bunker.
So 250 years.
250 years. Yeah. Relatively short time as compared to, most of the other countries around the world. We're actually, I guess you could say, a newer country. Yeah. We're in our infancy. And even though 250 years may seem like a long time, our infancy as a country is scarily under attack all the time, every single day.
I was watching, I think I mentioned this a long time ago, but I was watching a British, who was it? It was a British guy. I don't know. It was a show I was watching. And he was walking around his place and he's like talking about the United States. And he said, the United States is not old. He's like, my garage is older than anything in the United States. Anything. He's from Britain and pretty much everything is recycled. I mean, you got old, stone barns that were built 1,000 years ago that people now have their cars in.
I get it. We are what we are. It took a revolution over a 3% tax, on tea. And back then we're talking about, back then was, effectively, I guess, what did they call them back then? Quid or pence or whatever British money was being used back then.
A quid is like bucks to us.
Is it?
Yeah. So when we say $20, they say 20 quid.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean,
well, yeah, it was three. I don't know the percentage, but you're saying it's 3% tax on tea. But on top of that, you couldn't grow your own tea. You had to buy the king's tea.
Yeah.
So there's that too. It's like you're gonna buy this. Oh, and by the way, we're gonna tax you on it.
Yeah,
hey, and that's cool. I mean, that's how countries like Great Britain or England, whatever it was, that's how they survived. That's how they made their money. I got no problem with that. It's a colony tax, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the people here, the British people here, and others, there was other people here as well. They wanted to have their own country. They didn't want to do it, and they were like, hey, 3% tax. We ain't interested in that.
And it wasn't a just tax. It was quite a few things. We were several different colonies, of course, 13 colonies is how we started out. And what was happening is that everything that was being dictated to us from England was essentially what we would call representation or taxation without representation.
Right.
And when we tried to, send individuals over to contest the raising of taxes or, contest certain things, usually they were always shot down or they were, for lack of a better term, reprimanded very seriously. So it became a point where we were being dictated to from 1,000 miles away on what we could or couldn't do by a monarchy that, quite frankly, the then colonies had already established ways to govern themselves.
Right.
So again, it was a lot more than just
when
taxing.
The cat's away, the mice will play.
Yeah, of course. And that is the nature of it, and we were colonies for a pretty significant time.
A very significant time. And that's the thing. People think that, this has happened over a couple of years. No.
When people think back to our founding, I think a lot of people have like this kind of perhaps skewed vision of exactly, how we were founded, why we were founded, what happened. The people that founded this country, we call them the founding fathers. If you think back about the time frame in which this happened, you see pictures of, Washington as this tall, of course he was tall for back then, white hair, white wig, wearing, very what's the word? Dignified looking
Dignified.
gentlemaid.
Mhm. With bad teeth.
With bad teeth. But that's kind of not exactly an accurate representation. These dudes were young when this started out, young relatively for the age of, the period of time.
As if you're comparing it to now.
Yeah. So when you start looking back and like the most of the presidents that we've had in, say, the past, I don't know, 30, 40 years, 50 years, they're all in their 60s and 70s,
and now 80.
Yeah. And now 80. And these guys were relatively young and didn't have Alzheimer's like the last guy. I mean, there's a comedian who describes George Washington as this 6 foot tall dude who looked like he had tism with wild, wooden buck teeth, with a sword crashing through the forest. And that's why the British were so scared of him.
And George Washington was a tall guy, though. He was much taller than most people were back then.
Yeah,
when he entered the room, you knew a presence just entered the room. I mean, you could feel it.
Yeah. So, and there is a series coming up soon, and I believe it's on Angel TV that I want to watch. It's about George. It's called Washington, and it's about him as a young man who he was. Him as a young man trying to become a British officer, being denied because he wasn't a Brit. He wasn't of Britain.
Yeah, born Britain.
His brother was born in England and had a formal education, was considered a gentleman. And he was, for lack of a better term, the way that the British saw George Washington was he was riding his brother's coattails. So, yeah. And part of the only education that he had received up to that point is he learned how to survey. So he went on expeditions to survey these, very rich and governing individuals' properties, which were millions of acres back then. And he would go out on these expeditions and survey to create maps for these landowners and aristocrats. So nice. It looks like a very interesting series that I definitely want to watch. So
they did that with chains back in those days.
Oh
chains.
Man, the stuff that they did to create maps, and the maps
they got lines that are like perfectly straight just using chains.
Yeah, and the way that they did the maps back then, I love old maps. Like when you see maps drawn from like the 17, 18 and early 1900s, some of the colors and the detail and the way that they actually did the maps, I think it's fascinating because they didn't have, GPS and satellites and all that stuff, but they walked rivers and they knew their pace count. They walked these mountains and they knew how high it was based off of, a myriad of different things.
I did the one side of my property just to check a fence to make sure, because it was put in a long time ago and I wanted to make sure that it was done right. And I actually used a pointing laser. And what Rondo and I would do is we would get on each T-post and I would send the laser across a T-post and she would be at the third T-post. And that's how we did it. We did it by threes, and we just kept doing it that way, getting on one, hitting another, putting a stake in the ground, putting another, and doing it like that. And we actually ended up using the laser. We actually ended up right on target, a half a mile away up the hill at the very corner of the property.
Wow.
It was pretty cool. Now they did it with chains, but still it's the same sort of, technique. Nowadays we got GPS and, you hit a button and it's done,
Yeah. And I mean, like the house we live at here, it's 30 years old, and we were having a contractor do some stuff in the backyard. And he's like, well, where's the border? Like, where's your edge of your property? And I looked and I was like, well, you see the edge of that fence just pretty much to here. And he's like, no, hold on a second. And he pulled out a metal detector and he started walking along the edge of the grass. And there's an actual metal
Did they find the pin?
They found the pin.
No way. Wow, man.
And I looked and I was like, what the hell is that? And why is it in my grass? And he's like, this is your property marker pin.
Right.
And I'm like, I had no idea. I had absolutely no, and I don't know if I'm ignorant for not knowing that, but I didn't know that they used, like, no kidding. It looked like a railroad
Yeah.
spike,
Yeah,
kind of like
exactly.
that.
Yeah, very very long. Goes deep into the ground, and
Yeah.
sometimes it'll have numbers on them too for
Yeah.
I don't know, like lot number or whatever it is. You can mark it down on your deal.
This one had it. The head of it was. It actually looked like have you ever seen the geography markers that you find on like national parks and stuff?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Looked kind of like that. It had a lat long, and it had a serial number, and it had something else from the county.
Stamped on it.
Yeah. And the reason that we were having to do that is, we unfortunately live next to a restaurant, but when that restaurant got put in, they cut into our property without permission, and they laid a road. So coming back from Afghanistan 2012, Missy's like, that's interesting. Why is there a road in my yard? Like, where the hell did this street come from? And so she ended up getting with an attorney and the land developer, and we basically own half of a street because of what they did.
They should have paid you for it.
Oh, they did. They paid her because she's the landowner for this house. I'm just merely an employee who lives here sometimes. So, yeah.
Well, and the map is, for the United States, the map has definitely changed since the birth of the country 250 years ago. And I was just looking it up. I know that the very first settlement was English settlement was Roanoke, and it's considered the missing colony. It's a very interesting story, and I believe there's a movie coming up called Roanoke. If it's not out already, it's definitely coming, and it talks about that very first colony that we had, that they were English people, and they just up and disappeared. Nobody has any. There's clues and stuff, but nobody knows what really happened to them. And that was, get this, 1580s.
Mm-hmm.
A long, long time. 1580, 1776. So you're talking 200 years.
Yeah.
That the English were colonizing this entire area, and before it became the United States. Oh, hey, Rhonda just popped on.
Oh, hey, Rhonda.
First.
Happy Independence Day from Nerds with Guns.
Happy Independence Day from Nerds with Guns.
We did it together this time. Who's going to go first?
Dustin.
I'll go this time. Happy Independence Day from Nerds with Guns.
Happy Independence Day from Nerds with Guns.
All right.
Oh, very cool. Happy 4th of July. We are right in the middle of our 4th of July special right now, and that's awesome. Great to hear you guys.
Hell yeah. And it's hot outside, so it's skies out, thighs out. So.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Happy 4th of July to you guys, too.
Happy birthday to America. I was not expecting that.
That was interesting. So over 200 years, man, that we, the English was here colonizing and, getting things right, getting things wrong. And by the time we got to, let's call it 1776, by the time we got to that point, we were 13 different colonies, everybody having their own way of doing things, people having their own cultures at that point. The people had changed. They weren't just simply English people anymore, or, Dutch or whoever else was coming. Everybody was different, and everybody wasn't agreeing. And that's why, I think the best, I love the show. It was a mini series, John Adams. It was either called Adams or John Adams. I don't remember what it was. Mini series. Outstanding. I mean, if you really want to get a feel for what it was like for those folks back in those days and what they were going through, and you didn't just pick up the phone and talk to people. You had to travel on foot, on horseback, through snow and ice and heat, and leave your farm and your work and your practices or whatever else just to get to, these meetings and such. It was a difficult life.
Yeah. And you also, if you really wanted to go back and look at how we became what we are and who we are, the history actually goes back a whole lot farther, probably closer to, let's just say, 1,000 years. We had Vikings that landed here.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, pre-English.
Oh, yeah. So
yes, right.
We had Vikings that did land here in what we now call the United States and in Canada. And then flash forward many, many, many years. In 1492, of course, everybody knows Christopher Columbus.
Mhm.
He did not necessarily discover America.
Nope.
He originally landed in the islands, in the Caribbean islands, and there's a huge connection. If you've ever gotten the chance to go to some of the Caribbean islands, between the Caribbean islands in Florida and North Carolina and Georgia, and unfortunately, a lot of it had to do with the slave trade, which sucks. But if you look at the time frame of 1492 to the first actual permanent settlement in the United States, which was in 1565, that was in St. Augustine, Florida, and that was by the Spanish.
Very old down there. Very, very old.
Very old. But they didn't consider that one of the, of course, British settlements. So there was a lot of infighting that was happening within like the structure of the United States back then. Before the Brits even established saying, okay, this is ours now. You can't have this. And
right.
I mean, look at all the different stuff that happened in between. That we're talking a lot of time.
Oh yeah.
I think personally that the history of our country is pretty damn fascinating. Even though people don't want to talk, they don't want to recognize that every nation has, I don't know another way to word it. Every nation has a little bit of blood on their flag. Ours is no different. We had great periods and bad periods. And it just so happens that, we are what we are based off of the history that we had to go through to get here.
There's a lot of videos out right now on YouTube with all these folks that are visiting from Europe, for the, what's that? The football
the World Cup. The World Cup, yeah.
Yeah. Which is soccer to us, football to others. And there are so many videos, man, where people are saying they're telling you the wrong thing.
Yeah.
They're telling you things on the media and this and that. And other governments are saying things about the United States, and they're absolutely not true. You've got to come check it out. Everybody is blown away. They're blown away by the food, by the people, by the cultures, by the beauty, just everything about it. And I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I thought people in other countries were just like, oh, I love to go to that place. It's really the golden land, and this and that. No, they're not thinking that. They're thinking that they're going to get killed if they come to the United States. They're thinking that they're going to die of, cancer in the next year because of whatever they're eating. They're thinking all these bad things that they're told, about. And yes, we do eat bad.
Oh yeah.
But damn, it's good. It's good.
Yeah,
and now they're saying it. They're screaming it at the top of their lungs. There's so many videos out right now. I'm blown away by it.
Yeah, some of the countries actually flew food into the United States to give to their athletes.
Well, I mean, their athletes are a product.
Yeah, and I get it. I do, honestly, because I mean, the stuff that we allow here as compared to the stuff that they allow around like most of the world is completely different. We allow poison and trash, and most European countries, they don't do that.
You let your football team, your soccer team go to Mickey D's.
Oh,
they're not gonna play the next day the way you think they're gonna play.
No. And while they're playing, they're definitely gonna shit their pants. That's gonna happen.
I haven't been to McDonald's in decades. To me, it is the most nastiest food out there. I cannot stand. I like some, fast food places like Taco Bell. I know, even though it's very bad for you. I don't eat it a lot. We don't eat fast food that much. We used to, but McDonald's, no, I haven't been there in decades, man. Anytime I've eaten anything from McDonald's, my stomach hurt an hour later.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I will say this: every so often, I get like a crack fiend thing going on for their fries and their nuggets. I don't know what it is. It's like I can't help it.
You get the 20-piece?
Oh man, I can smash 2 of those. But a lot of barbecue sauce.
I remember back in those days. Yeah, I remember the 20-piece, man. By the time you got to the 20-piece, you're like, I don't want to eat these. This is not good.
Especially if you've been dropping a microdose, you're definitely going to want those much. But yeah, back to our country. For the person who lives the prepared lifestyle, or, as AKA preppers, the fact that we've made it this far, is pretty monumental for, it should be, I should say, should be monumental for a lot of people. Because for many, many years, there has always been someone who has tried to extinguish what we are. We are, as Reagan put it, the last beacon of hope. We are the last bastion in this world of actual freedom. And it's a scary thing to know that if you are in this country, and you're a citizen, no one is coming to rescue us. You have to self-rescue. And if our country has to be rescued, I mean, God help us.
If our country has to be rescued, it's going to be done by patriots.
Yes, it is.
That's just simple as that. That's what it comes down to.
It's going to be.
And we're not saying Americans are better than people in the rest of the world. We're saying America is better. We're saying the freedom you get, that's what we're talking about. I know there are beautiful places and beautiful people all over the world, but their governments are. You think our government's got problems? You should look into some of the other countries out there that you think are doing great.
It's a scary thing to acknowledge for some people, and some people have their head completely buried in the sand. Every single day, our nation is under attack in some form or fashion.
More right now than usual right now.
Oh,
with this whole communist socialist thing that's happening to the Democratic Party, and actual real patriotic Democrats are in a bad place because of it. How do they fight it? How do they fight this new takeover of their party?
Yeah. Yeah, and
it's powerful, very powerful stuff.
Yeah. And to a lot of it, the extent of what is wrong, and even in other countries, but also ours, when history gets altered, that's when things really, when people see altered history and they don't recognize it for what it is, it's the beginning of the end. And in the Communist Manifesto that was written many, many, many decades ago, they said that they were going to destroy the United States without firing a single shot. And they've done so through the use of media, television, social media, the use of the word democracy. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. Right. We have never been a democracy. And then they started using, what's his name, Mamdani, he coined that phrase, I am a democratic socialist. Come on, bro. Seriously. Just come out and say what you are. I mean,
but the problem is he's very popular. He's being followed by very powerful people, and there is a movement happening.
There is, and the most ignorant people are the ones who voted for him. I don't mean that in a mean way. They are ignorant to
not
what
ignorant,
he
stupid,
is.
dummy, but right. Ignorant as in you don't really know what's happening here. If you actually learn the facts, you might not be thinking what you're thinking.
Yeah. They are ignorant as to what he truly is, and and now they are so emboldened that they say what they are. There's no hiding it. They have said what they are, and for some reason, people still vote for them. I just can't wrap my mind around it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But then I have to look back at the current state of our youth and what is really happening with our youth of today, and what we have allowed, and it's an unfortunate truth, but what we have allowed our children to be taught in the public school system, which was yet another infiltration point in this country. It is.
It's absolute control. Mm-hmm. When I think of socialism, communism, as far as I'm concerned, they're the same, even though they're not. It's control.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And Americans don't like to be controlled. The problem is these young folks, the young generation coming, they don't know. Yeah, they don't understand what control really is.
No,
and I'm going to tell you right now, it is not going to fly with the patriots. Now, Democrats and Republicans alike that are actual real patriots and love freedom are not going to let this happen.
No, the ones, and then if something absolutely crazy were to happen, the ones who are going to save this country are Gen Xers and early I think they're referred to as Zennials. They're like the end of the Gen X, the beginning of the millennial. Those are the individuals who are going to save this country.
What age group is that right now? I don't know the whole status thing.
Between 35 and 65.
Okay.
Like that range right now. So I was born in 77. Missy was born in 67. I think you are
69.
Yeah. So the Gen X crowd, the Gen X, generation is going to have to probably be the one that is going to bring this country back around. And that's only because...
My Prepper brothers and sisters, we'd like to remind you that the Tops Bunker podcast now has its own YouTube channel where you can listen to all our episodes and watch some videos as well. We have live events planned for this summer and giveaways, so don't miss out. Please stop by the new channel and subscribe. We need those subscriptions and appreciate your support. YouTube.com/Tops Bunker Podcast. Hit the subscribe button and comment as much as you like. Now, back to the show.
We grew up hard as shit. We were the generation of latchkey kids. We were the post-Vietnam kids. Like that's how we were raised, and if you go back to that phrase of weak men create hard times create strong men create good times create weak men. Mm-hmm. It's a cycle that just repeats.
Where are we now?
Well, it's kind of hard to say because in the last administration, I was convinced that it was a good times create weak men, and then weak men create hard times. Like we're on that cusp right there in that part. And I think the next part of the revolution of that circle is the hard times. And the hard times are going to create hard men and strong men. And those strong men, and it's just men is not just like isolated to males. It's women as well.
Mankind.
And those strong people are going to have to be the ones that pull us back through. And because we know how to do stuff. Unfortunately, and I'm just as probably as guilty as anybody else, a lot of our kids and grandkids don't know how to do the things that we did commonplace when we were kids, because we didn't want our kids to have to suffer. And I get it. I am fortunate to have feral kids and feral grandchildren. They know how to live off the land. They know how to do certain things. But
my boys are strong, tough men. Mm-hmm. They're physically fit and tall and strong and all that. However, they were brought up very like a lot of kids these days. They were given whatever they wanted. They were given everything. And I think that, and I do know, and they're really good, great kids, but as I do know that they appreciate and know that they have been brought up that way.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does.
So they're able to say to themselves, yeah, I can be spoiled sometimes and I totally get why. And I probably shouldn't be like that, but that's kind of how I am. They get it,
mm-hmm.
And I think that their generation is really going to have to, I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm not going to be able to in 10 years from now, whenever this might go down, I'm not going to be able to pick up the rifle and go march. I'm going to be too old.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I can protect my own and my area and my people and my group, but I can't go fight a war. I'm too old for that.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that a lot of the newer generations of Americans, especially, don't take into account is how do I word this? They have been rescued their whole life. They have been pulled out.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
They have been pulled out of bad situations their whole life. Is that partly our fault as parents and grandparents?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It absolutely is.
It is, because we don't want to see our children suffer.
No,
but,
exactly.
But the thing is that we have unwittingly created, I don't know if I would say a standard of weakness, but that's like the first thing that kind of comes to mind, because our kids and grandkids didn't really have to suffer. You know, like, okay, maybe some of them lived through dial-up. Oh man, that sucks. You know, but when I grew up, we were a military family, and we were dirt poor. We were trash poor. I mean, to the point where sometimes, even though my mom was in the military, we couldn't afford meat, so we had spaghetti noodles with butter, and you know, there was a period of time between us moving from one base to another and our housing wasn't ready. Well, we had a Volkswagen bus and we actually lived in it. I thought it was the greatest camping trip that lasted several months ever. I didn't realize that we were homeless. We were an actual homeless military family because we had nowhere to go yet. And back then, rules were a lot different. Like, they were a lot looser. So, we took a very long camping trip, and I saw it as like the greatest time of my life. You know, we cooked outdoors. We went from national park and state park to, you know, just different parks, and we just kept doing that. And we got to San Antonio in like, I think like late 79, early 80, or maybe it was 81. I can't remember, but there for a couple of months, we had no place to go. And so we lived in this van and we just did whatever. So that's when I learned how to swim. I got tossed into a river that was moving rapidly.
Well, and in the same breath, what you're saying is basically how our forefathers and everything started this country, and it took grit, and they were tough as nails people, men and women both. They were very, very tough, and they went through extreme hard times, and living was hard and nothing was easy. And they fought and fought and fought and fought wars, several wars, to get our country to where it is right now.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the younger generation understands that you will have to continue fighting for that same greatness.
Yeah.
If you stop fighting, if you stop having that passion for, this is why a lot of people can't stand Trump. I love Trump. The reason why is because he is 100% an American patriot. He loves this country and he loves Americans, everybody across the board. He wants things to be great. And are they in a cocky kind of way? Yeah, they are, but who cares? I'm old enough to remember the 200-year anniversary. I was 7 years old. And I remember as kids, I mean, it was a massive party. We decorated our bikes with red, white, and blue ribbons, and we put the little baseball cards in our spokes to make the sound when you rode down the block. I mean, it was a big deal, man. It was a big deal. And then here I am now, you know, the 250th. And And I love it. And I love America. And I'm an absolute patriot across the board. I've got an American flag flying in my yard, and it'll always be there. But I'm worried about what's happening with the younger generation and this whole entire communistic, socialistic thing that's happening. It's powerful, and I see it happening. It's bad.
Yeah. And if I can remember it, when we were down at the Sergeant Major's Academy, Missy was also doing her master's at the same time. And she did her master's in defense and strategic studies, and they had a guest speaker. And if I remember correctly, it was the former deputy director of it was either CIA or one of the agencies. And one of the students asked her what keeps her up at night. And she said whether or not America will make it to its 300th birthday. Yeah. And that right there, when you start thinking about it, if one of the top heads of one of the strong, like most powerful agencies on the planet says that, what does that translate to for us as people who live prepared? Like,
right.
Are any of us going to be alive in 50 years? Meh.
No, but our kin will. And we got to make sure that they are that they understand. They understand these things. They have to be able to understand. They can't just know how to can and how to grow and how to shoot. They have to know how to love all those things. They'd have to know that how to be passionate about it and protect it and fight for it and vote for it and all that sort of thing. They have to be on the cutting edge of that.
Yeah. And I mean, when I try to think forward that far, you know, I have no doubt in my mind that I will not be here. But I do have children, you know, children will be much older, but grandchildren who will be, you know, I'll have great grandchildren by then. And
right.
I want them to not just survive on scraps. I want them to thrive. I want them to,
right. Yeah.
Because it's not, it's not just, you know, I know how to make rice and beans. I have a place where I'm hiding and that's how I'm going to spend my days. Hell no, man. Live, be happy.
That's
thrive.
What I said about having a passion for it and to love it and to own it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's not just survival. It is, I was going to say thrivival. It's
that's nice. I like that. Thrivival. I like it.
Write that down. Write that down.
Write it down. That's yours.
To thrive and actually be happy with your situation, even though it might be hard, even though it might be tough and it might feel meager at times. To know
what's
that,
the alternative?
Yeah, exactly. The alternative is death. The end of your line. The
alternative is depending on other people to help you through life. And who wants that?
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, if you want to see how socialism will never work, and this is coming from a person who has Native American blood in them, go to a reservation. If you want to see socialism at its absolute finest failure, go to a reservation.
Oh, you're talking about an Indian reservation?
Indian reservation. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. It is a prime example of what happens when you try socialism in scale. It's never worked. So the Soviet Socialist Republic failed.
Yes.
You know, it went down in flames. What's another one? Venezuela. Also socialist. Mexico is socialist. Chinese is communist. Vietnam is communist. There's so many different examples of around the world of where eventually the cracks in the system begin to become just huge geysers. And once that crack starts and the water starts coming through, people are like, oh, this sucks. I don't want this anymore.
Yeah, but it's too late at that point.
It is. Sort of, kind of. There are countries,
unless you have an uprisal, unless you have another country like the United States to step in and help.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and I just hope people understand that for us to make it to this point here, you know, 250 years. Man, I'm just telling you, the amount of people who laid down their life in order to ensure that we have this weird experiment called the United States, that is an indeterminable number. People do not have any idea that if we were not successful on D-Day during World War II, this country would be speaking German, Italian, and Japanese. They have absolutely no idea how close we were to being destroyed by the Axis during World War II.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we actually had foreign troops land on both coasts, and people today still have no idea that happened. There were small submarines on both coasts. There were boats that were taken out on both sides. There were German personnel that landed here on the East Coast, and you want to know who stopped them? Besides the Coast Guard of what it was at the time, it was local yokels and World War I veterans who were like, oh, no, we're not allowing this. We're going to kill fucking everybody. And they did.
And that's the problem with an invading army these days, is they don't just have the United States Army. They've got a much bigger army to face.
Yeah.
You know, of really passionate people that don't have any rules.
Yeah.
There's no army rules when you're a yokel.
Yeah.
You know, you do what you have to do to win, period. End of discussion.
Yeah. And I would think, let me rephrase that. I would hope that if other countries were really looking to pick a fight, that they would remember that there is an entire, and I mean huge generation of veterans from the global war on terrorism. And many of us deployed to many different conflicts over the years. And I'm going to play a clip.
You got a clip?
Yeah, I've got a clip. And it's probably one of my most favorite clips from a Medal of Honor recipient.
Combatants bear witness to all aspects of the human condition. It reveals the darkest parts of the human soul while residing side by side with the most exalted characteristics, nobility, honor, valor, and God's grace. Why do American warriors under fire do what men have done since this nation's inception? This is a common thread that connects the militias of Lexington and Concord with the warriors of Fallujah. It is our love of nation, our way of life, and our love by those who we serve with side by side. We defend, we avenge, we sacrifice, we bleed, and we are willing to die for this unique creation, the United States of America. I am complete for having experienced that kind of sacrifice with my fellow men at arms. And those who died, they gave their lives for me. They gave their lives for you and countless citizens who will never know them. I'm talking about Sims, Falkenberg, Iwan, Gonzalez, Vandenberg, Madison, Gariantis, Schreck, Sizemore, Mock, Rosales, Cardenas, Sprayberry, and Pruitt. Those were our countrymen. Those are our friends. And these men will never get the chance to experience the cycle of life, the birth and growth of their children. They shall not grow old because they chose to stand in our place and face the enemy for us. It's not enough to acknowledge the fallen by name or just inscribe their names in marble as proof that they lived and died. To truly honor the fallen, we must acknowledge how and why they gave their lives. Their death wasn't a random act or a splash of misfortune. These men and women voluntarily put themselves in harm's way, prepared to die so that we may rest secured at home. They are the insurance policy that guarantees that our founding documents, our God-given rights, are more worthy than their own tomorrows. For the infantrymen in combat, there is nobility and purpose in our lives, and that is unique. But we don't see ourselves as a people apart. We are America's warrior class. We execute the lawful intent of our government. There is no political affiliation on our dog tags. This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We've seen war. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Ooh, damn, that's powerful. Who was this?
Yeah, that was U.S. Army Staff Sergeant David Balavia. When I heard that, I was like, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Now imagine coming into our country and trying any other way other than like worst case, which would be nuclear. Imagine trying to come into our country by actually landing forces on here. Imagine what a Chinese or an Iranian soldier would be feeling or thinking if they landed in the Appalachia up in West Virginia and North Carolina.
They wouldn't. They land in New York and say hi to Madami.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
They get lunch.
Yeah.
In a bed.
They do know for a fact that if they cross down into certain areas, they'd be done. You go down into West Virginia, into the hollers, you're going to get laid out.
Those people don't play.
And you're going to hear banjos just before it happens, and all of a sudden you see some 300-pound redneck yelling Bohica, carrying a shotgun with a straw hanging out of his mouth. And you're getting greased up. That's just all there is. And again, I think a lot of countries, the way that they see our country in certain areas, especially, and they're like, man, everybody in America gets shot. I mean, that's not entirely true, but we have more firearms and ammunition that are civilian owned than some countries have within their entire armed forces.
The last stat that I heard was that there's more civilian owned firearms and ammunition than all of the military in the rest of the world combined.
I wouldn't doubt it at all. I mean, that's also, under attack, always under attack,
Well, in a socialist government, it'll be gone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't think that people realize that to keep what we built, we have to fight for it. They think it's just a permanent thing.
We need smart people that can fight with their brains. We need strong people that can fight with their work ethic, and that sort of thing. There's lots of different things when you say fight for it. It doesn't necessarily mean fight with a gun. In fact, it most definitely doesn't mean fight with a gun.
Mm-hmm.
It means fight with your voice, fight with your vote, your work ethic, productivity, kindness to others, your ability to be sustainable, prepared, and to take care of yourselves and your family and all that sort of thing. There's a lot that goes into the word fight.
Yeah. And you have to be willing to learn. Fighting also is learning. If you've not dug into the Constitution, if you've not dug into the Bill of Rights, if you've not dug into your state constitutions, you need to do so.
I refresh the Bill of Rights in my brain every now and again.
Yeah.
I do like to go through it. I've never read the Constitution itself, but I've seen it, and I've stood in front of it and looked at it. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, we have last time I was up in PA, when I was down at the Liberty Bell and right there where they signed the Constitution and all that, I picked up two of the large parchment prints, and we had them framed and hung up in the den.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I love the way that they look. The guest speaker that said, that she was worried that America wouldn't make it to its 300th birthday was Honorable Sue Gordon, who was the former deputy for the CIA. To hear that from a person at that high of a level of the CIA itself, which I have my own reservations and opinions about the CIA, but for someone to actually say that, man, that's like, if that doesn't set people's minds into overdrive, I don't know what will.
That was former deputy director. Okay, so they're read in on most things. If you want to make it another 50 years, America, what you've got coming at you now is going to be, obviously, we've already said, I believe, in my opinion, is the communist socialistic party. That's one thing. But you've also got AI, and that's a whole nother thing that's going to happen very quick. It's already happening, and it's going to sweep across humankind very, very fast. And I don't think we're going to get a handle on it. I believe it is going to change the face of the earth.
I think so too. And not to get too biblical, not to get too down that particular path. Some people believe that AI is going to become the mark of the beast.
I don't disagree. and I would even take it away from the biblical part of that and say, I believe it's going to be what you can consider to be evil.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Also, and this is for a lot of listeners right now that are listening that might go my direction. This is also the age of disclosure. Things are going to come out very soon. They're already starting to come out. And we don't know where that's going to go either. You take that, you take, all of the aggression in the world, and you get AI, which is a very powerful force. And you get a lot of things to fight against.
You also have a lot to fight for. Regardless of what's happening now, this is still the greatest country on earth. And I know I know we have some people out there in other places that listen to us, and I don't discount any other country or anything like that.
Oh, there's so many places in the world I want to go see. I would love to go see places.
Absolutely.
There's so many places. I don't care what their governments are like. I just want to go meet the people and look and get the culture in my blood, eat it, eat the food and all that. I want to be there, smell it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'll ever get to because I'm not rich, but it's the way it is.
But the thing is that here you can, well, you're not supposed to be reprised against, but you can and have the right and ability to go up to a governing person and tell them exactly what you think and what you feel and complain. And if you were to take that same right that we have here and try that in any other place, and then see how long you either don't go to jail or keep your head, you know what I mean? Because people here, like these young people who are out there trashing our country and destroying things, complaining about capitalism and complaining about the United States while wearing a $300 pair of shoes and an $800 iPhone. And they're complaining about the rich, and yet they have things that other countries have never even seen. You go try that somewhere else. You go try to live your alternate lifestyle somewhere else. These individuals who sit there and say from the LGBT community about how they need to free Palestine and all those things, they do not get to see the part where they throw homosexuals off of buildings, off of a 30th floor building. They don't get to see what happens to people that speak out against their government. If you feel so passionate about it, go try that over there. Go to Afghanistan, go to Pakistan, go to any of those places, go to Russia and try some of the crap that they do here. Do not discount the fact that this
people have tried, by the way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and they never came back. I mean, it's just I for those of you who are Americans listening in America, or if you're an American abroad, just cherish the fact that we've made it this far, and don't take this country for granted. We are the last. We are the last ones, and if we go, that's it. If we no longer are a republic, if we are no longer the United States of America, just be prepared to self-rescue.
Happy birthday, America. 250 years.
Hell yeah. And also, do not hold on to your firecrackers or your fireworks when you're lighting them off. Try to keep all your fingers. This is the number one emergency room visitation day ever, like period, every single year.
People are gonna lose fingers.
Yeah,
they're gonna lose hair, eyebrows,
eyeballs.
They're gonna lose their sight.
Do not mix fireworks and alcohol. Leave that to me.
Well, what are you gonna shoot bottle rockets at them? They're called bottle rockets for a reason. You put them in a beer bottle.
It used to be like the old school, like Coke bottles.
No,
now
beer bottle.
I mean, yeah, but I was a kid when we used to do them.
You stuff like 20 bottle rockets into a beer bottle and light it. Watch what happens. Don't stand too close. Put your protective eye gear on too, because I'm telling you right now.
Oh, goodness. Happy birthday, America.
My prepper brothers and sisters. If you have an idea for a show topic or would like to be on the show as our guest, email shtf@topsbunker.com, website topsbunker.com, YouTube Tops Bunker Podcast channel, and SpeakPipe, speakpipe.com/tops. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and remember, stay prepped, stay happy. Thanks for listening, and good night.